What's going on? It's your boy SymbolicSportsaholic. This time talking about the NHL Eastern Conference and who I think will win. Keep in mind this is preseason, so I am making these predictions based on what I've seen last year and off-season trades, and my personal opinions have some influence on these. So take in mind if I talk bad about your team or what have you, it's it's nothing against you or your team. I don't hate anyone in the NHL. I'm just open to honest opinions. I'd like to hear who you guys think are good as well. Maybe post a video response or a comment. And yeah, so I'm going to be talking about the Eastern Conference. I just talked about the Western Conference in my last video. You can go to my channel and find it if you would like. I might be able to put a link there too if I remember. But yeah, let's keep on going with this. I'm starting the Eastern Conference. So, starting from the bottom of teams who I do not think will make playoffs, work my way up to the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. I'm going to start with the Montreal Canadiens. Other than PK Subban and Carey Price, this team really is kind of a bit overrated. They're not very good. I don't see them being really a real threat. I don't know too much about Montreal hockey, but I just don't see them having enough goal scorers to make it far in this league. They're gonna have to be getting some offseason pickups in next year if they want to be relevant again. I know they're the best franchise in NHL history, based on Stanley Cup victories. But let's go on to the Winnipeg Jets. Dustin Byfuglien and other players for this Winnipeg team is pretty good. Remember, these were the Atlanta Thrashers, and the Thrashers were not a bad team. The Jets, though, I don't see them really doing anything this year, unfortunately. I just don't think they have the talent. I know they're a talented team, but so is everybody else. This Eastern Conference is just too tough for them. Next, I have the New York Islanders. I really like John Tavares. I think he's one of the best players in the NHL right now. And the Islanders, they're a decent team. I love Evgeny Nabokov in at goalie. He's one of my favorite goalies ever to play the game. But yeah, the Islanders aren't really going anywhere as well. They have a couple of goal scorers, but just not a lot of depth. Next, we have the Capitals. The Capitals surprised me in the playoffs last year. The reason why I don't think they're going to be doing as good this year is because a lot of those players have left. Semin and a couple other guys, they're no longer with the Caps. They still have Mike Green on defense, who's nasty. He's one of the best defenders in the league. Not offensively, but as a defensive defender. And they still have Alexander Ovechkin, which of course everyone loves him. I'm not a huge fan of him, but I don't think he's going to carry this team by itself. He was not very productive last year compared to his usual stats. He's still a great player, but I'm going to move up to the New Jersey Devils. This team was in the Stanley Cup finals last year, and I was really surprised with that. Marty Brodeur is still playing. He's old, but he's still got fight in him. Still a good goalie. But Zach Parise is gone for the Devils, and the only real player that I think is still really good is Ilya Kovalchuk. And Patrick Elias as well. But the Devils, I don't think they have what it takes to make it anymore. They just lost too much of their team in the offseason. Yeah. Next, we're going to have the Toronto Maple Leafs. I love Phil Kessel. I love some of these Maple Leafs players. They're pretty good. The only issue I have with them is that their defense is never that good. They always start the first half of the season as one of the best teams. Then by the end of the season, they're one of the worst. So it's hard to predict what's going to come out of them. Next, we have the Buffalo Sabres. Ryan Miller is a great player. The Sabres, actually, with Palmerville and a couple other players, they're pretty good. But I don't see them being a huge threat to anybody later on. They met Pool upset. I wouldn't be surprised if they snagged an 8th seed in the playoffs, but I'm just going to assume they're not going to have the best of years from what I've seen from them in preseason warm-ups. I watch the NHL Network. Sometimes I watch practices. They don't really show that very often, but not really practices, but highlights of scrimmages and stuff. Next we have The Ottawa Senators. I love the Senators. I think they're a good team. Erik Karlsson, the best offensive defensive player in the league by far. Um, they still have they still have Spezza, and I'm pretty sure they still have Dan Alfredson as well, and Craig Anderson at goalie. I think they're going to be tough. They're definitely going to make the playoffs this year, in my opinion. I think they'll grab a lower seed, unfortunately, anywhere from between 6 and 8, in my opinion. But they're still a good team. They're going to be they're going to be there in the playoffs for sure. Next, we have Tampa Bay Lightning. I love Steven Stamkos. I think he is the best player in the league. Evgeny Malkin is up there as well. But Steven Stamkos, along with Vincent Lecavalier and who else? They have several good players. Martin St. Louis, I believe. Yeah, they have a lot of veterans, and then they have a lot of players who are incredibly good. So I'm going to go ahead and say that they will make the playoffs as a lower seed. Next, we have the Florida Panthers. This team is my friend's favorite team. I think they are actually a great team. If you look at their roster, Stephen Weiss, they have some of the best defensemen in the game. They have Garrison. He's tearing it up. I think the Panthers will surprise people again this year. They have a lot of depth, and most people don't know that. Next, I have the Philadelphia Flyers. Claude Giroux is such a good player. Stephen Hartnell, but who really has impressed me so far, and I think he's going to be very improved, is Brizgalov, their goalie, Ilya Brizgalov. I think he's going to come out with some fight in him. We'll see what happens, but yeah, they should make it to the playoffs if they're lucky. Next, we have the Boston Bruins. Nathan Horton on offense, Zadona Chara, and their goalie that's replacing Tim Thomas is really good, very underrated. I have them at the 4 seed. I think that might be a little high, but some of those teams in there are just hard to really predict what's going to happen. Next, we have the Carolina Hurricanes, who I think have one of the best rosters in the NHL this year. They have Eric Stahl, Jordan Stahl, who else? They have so much good talent on that team. And of course, Cam Ward in that goalie. They're going to be something to mess with this year. Trust me, the Carolina Hurricanes going to be the most improved team in the East, in my opinion. Now we have the New York Rangers, who were very good last year, and they just got a little bit better because they got Rick Nash now. So they got Del Zotto, Rick Nash. Who else? They got some great players. Of course, Henrik Lundqvist at goalie. You're going to be seeing these teams that have elite goalies always make it the farthest. Goalies are everything in hockey, believe it or not. I love the Rangers. I think they're going to be there in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then the best team in the Eastern Conference by far, in my opinion, is Pittsburgh Penguins. Even though they don't have Jordan Stahl anymore, they're very vicious. They have Chris Kunitz, James Neal, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin. So many great players. Marc-Andre Fleury at goalie. Again, he's a pretty good goalie. If he can just, if they can play defense, they'll be the best team. They have the best offense already, without any comparison. But we'll see what happens. And then for my playoffs, I have the bracket right here, who I think is going to win. I think it's going to be in the first round between the Blackhawks and the Oilers in a tough matchup. I'm going to take the Blackhawks just because the Oilers don't have much playoff experience. Then between the Wild and the Predators, I have the Wild winning this game. The Predators are not as good offensively as they were last year. Next, I have the San Jose Sharks and the LA Kings. I think the Sharks are going to knock them off with ease. It's a divisional rivalry, so probably 4-2, 4-3. Pretty close series. Next, we have St. Louis Blues and the Phoenix Coyotes. Now, the Blues, they really impressed me. I'm going to go with the Blues. Next, we have the Penguins and the Senators. I wish the Senators would grab a higher seed. If they do, if they get the 7 or 6 seed, it wouldn't surprise me if they upset them. But I'm going to have the Penguins winning this one. I think the Penguins are the best in the East. Now we have the Bruins and the Flyers. I think the Flyers could beat the Bruins, to be honest with you. I don't know. The Bruins and the Flyers, those are the two teams that I'm really confused about in the East. I don't know if they're going to be good or not. Um, they tend to make the playoffs almost every year, though, so we'll see. Then I have the Rangers and the Panthers. I have the Rangers winning that one, maybe 4-1 even. Then we have the Hurricanes and the Lightning. I have the Hurricanes winning, as much as I hate to say it. I think the Lightning could pull an upset in that surprising game, though. Surprising series. Then between the Blackhawks and the Wild, I have the Wild with an upset, one of the biggest upsets in the playoffs. Then between the Sharks and the Blues, I have the Sharks. Penguins and Flyers, I have the Penguins in a blowout. I think they really want back at these Flyers. Then we have the Rangers and the Hurricanes. I'm going with the Rangers. So in the Western Conference Finals, I have the Sharks coming out of the West, Penguins out of the East, and I have the Sharks winning their very first Stanley Cup. I hope it happens because I'm a San Jose Sharks fan. But if it doesn't, at least I'll be watching some good hockey. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the NHL season. If you have any questions or tips for me, or if you want tips or questions in return or answers, feel free to ask or comment and message me, whatever you feel like doing. All right. I hope to see you later.